welcome back. We are continuing with the uh, homilies of Clement. Of course, we finished off in part two with the introduction to Simon Peter uh, through Barnabas. Barnabas introduced Clement to Simon Peter, and so Keith is like, he ends it with saying, "If you have anything to say, say it." So we're going to pick up there in book 1, chapter 17. Clement says, "Then I set forth my purpose from the beginning and how I spent myself upon difficult questions and all the things that I disclosed to you on the outset, so that I need not write the same things again. Then I said, I hold myself in readiness to journey with you, for this I know not how, I gladly wish. However, I wish first to be convinced concerning the truth, that I may know whether the soul is mortal or immortal, whether if it is eternal, it is to be judged concerning the things which it has done. Also, whether there is anything that is righteous and well pleasing to Elohim, and whether the world was made, and for what end it was made, and whether it shall be dissolved, and if it shall be dissolved, whether it shall be better or shall not be at all. And not to mention them in detail, I said that I wish to learn these things and things consequent upon these. And to this he answered, I shall shortly convey to you, O Clement, the knowledge of the things that are, and even now listen." So, Clement, now we don't really realize it at this point, but this is actually the homilies themselves. They are part of a letter to James, and so that's why Clement's like he's basically reviewing to Kepha the things that he said at the beginning of this letter. And that's why he says, "Things I disclosed to you at the outset, I don't need to write the same things again." And so he's writing to James and says, basically, I'm not going to repeat myself. So, he's asking Kepha the answer to some of these questions. Some of the questions that we've probably asked in church. When you read the Bible and you see that you don't actually go to heaven, the kingdom of heaven is going to come to earth. And so we're going to be living in this renewed heavens and this renewed earth, and it's not really the picture that you're presented in a church setting with what the end is going to be. And that's essentially what Clement's asking, and Kepha promises to convey this knowledge to him. So, next chapter says, "The will of Elohim has been kept in obscurity in many ways. In the first place, there's evil instruction, wicked association, terrible society, unseemly discourses, and wrongful prejudice. Thereby is error, then fearlessness, unbelief, fornication, covetousness, vainglory, and 10,000 other such evils, filling the world as a quantity of smoke fills a house, having obscured the sight of men inhabiting the world, and have not suffered them to look up and to be acquainted with Elohim, the Creator, from the delineation of himself which he has given, and to know what is pleasing to him. Wherefore it behooves the lovers of truth, crying out inwardly from their breasts, to call for aid with truth-loving reason, that someone living within the house, which is filled with smoke, may approach and open the door, so that the light of the sun, which is without, may be admitted into the house, and the smoke of the fire, which is within, may be driven out." So, basically, Keith is drawing this analogy to where sin and evil desires and ignorance and such and so forth has filled the earth in the same way that smoke would fill a house. And so the people in the house are begging for someone to come and open a window for them to let some of the smoke out so that they can clearly see. And it's the same thing with the world. You're crying out for truth. And so this is the introduction to the true prophet. Now, the true prophet doctrine is something that the Ebionites believed. The Ebionites were the original followers of Yeshua. You've probably heard them referred to as the Nazarenes. They were a Jewish Christian group Probably there were three primary schools of Judaism in the first century. There was the Sadducees and the Pharisees, that of course we know from the New Testament. But there was also this other group called the Essenes, and we don't. The Essenes really weren't in the limelight until the last 70 or 80 years with the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls. So I believe that the Essenes were the what was the Essenes before the appearance of Yeshua became the Ebionites. That essentially the the Jewish people in Palestine that followed Yeshua uh, throughout his ministry and immediately after his death were the Essenes, and that from there it spread into the Pharisees and the Sadducees and into the Gentiles and such and so forth. So, um, needless to say, one of the doctrines that they had that's kind of been forgotten is this doctrine known as the true prophet. One time I was speaking to a group of people, and we were studying the Torah, and I mentioned that Yeshua was a prophet, and this lady began to argue with me. She said he wasn't a prophet; he was a Messiah. And I was like, "Well, what do you think the Messiah was?" The Messiah was a priest, a prophet, a king. The three anointed positions in Israel. That he fulfilled all three of these anointings, and so he was a prophet. That doesn't uh, you know lessen his role as Messiah. It enhances it. He has to be a prophet in order to be the Messiah. So this true prophet doctrine um, was essentially, it was another name for the Messiah. So it says here, now the man who is the helper I call the true prophet, and he alone is able to enlighten the souls of men, so that with our own eyes we may be able to see the way of eternal salvation. But otherwise it is impossible, as you also know, since you said a little while ago that every doctrine is set up and pulled down, and the same is thought true or false according to the power of him who advocates it, so that the doctrines do not appear as they are, but take appearances of being or not being truth or falsehood from those who advocate them. So essentially, keep us repeating what Clement has said, is that men ascertain truth or falsehood based upon the skillfulness of the presenter and not whether the actual a subject being discussed is truth or fiction. On this account, I keep yawning. I don't know why. On this account, the whole business of religion needed a true prophet, that he might tell us things that are as they are, and how we must believe concerning all things, so that it is first necessary to test the prophet by every prophetic sign, and having ascertained that he is true, thereafter to believe him in everything, and not to sit in judgment upon his several sayings, but to receive them as certain, being accepted indeed by seemingly faith, yet by sure judgment. For by our initial proof, and by strict inquiry on each side, all things are received with right reason. Wherefore, before all things, it is necessary to seek after the true prophet, because without him it is impossible that any certainty can come to men. So, what is the role of the true prophet? Well, the role of the true prophet is to cut through this smoke and cut through this um, truth that is only determined by the skillfulness of the speaker, and to get to the actual truth um, that men want to know. And so Clement continues with, again, this the letter portion when he's speaking to James, and he says, and at the same time, he satisfied me by expounding to me who he is and how he is found, and holding him forth to me. If show is more manner of the ear by the discourse of the prophet than things that are seen with the eye. So that's that no one sees these things which are sought after by all, though they lie before him. However, having written this discourse concerning the prophet by his order, he caused the volume to be dispatched to you from Caesarea Stratonus, saying that he had a charge from you to send his and by his acts year by year. Thus, on the very day beginning only concerning the prophet of truth, he confirmed me in every respect. And then he spoke thus: Henceforth, give heed to the discussions that take place between me and those on the other side. And even if I come off at a disadvantage, I'm not afraid of you ever doubting the truth that has been delivered to you, knowing well that I seem to be beaten, but not the doctrine that has been delivered to us by the prophet. However, I hope not to come off in our inquiries at a disadvantage with men who have understanding, I mean lovers of truth, who are able to know what discourses are specious, artificial, and pleasant, and what are unartificial and simple, trusting only to the truth that is conveyed through them. So here it says that so Kepha is explaining all this stuff to Clement, and that can profit by his order. He to you Caesarea Stratonus. So Clement's writing, like he wrote down what Kepha told him. Um, I wish we had that whole volume here, but apparently it was, that part was sent to James, and I guess is not part of the homilies. So he had been told by James to send his discourses and his acts year by year. And here we have a footnote that says the text is probably corrupt as it stands grammatically. Peter writes the discourse and sends it, and yet by his order must also apply to Peter. The recognitions make Clement write the book and send it. The passage is deemed important and is accordingly discussed in these different authors. Both passages, despite the variation, may be urged in support of the existence of an earlier document as a common basis for the Clementine literature. So the thought is that there was an actual original discourse prior to the recognitions and homilies, and that was the original. So anyway, he's sending these reports to James, and James is keeping them and sharing them with the other members of the assembly. And we're probably going to hear that discussed a little bit more. I know it's mentioned several times in the recognitions. And Kepha also, he finishes up by saying, however, I hope not to come off in our inquiries with a disadvantage. He's basically saying that because Clement is seeking truth and not someone who's a good orator, that even if Kepha seems to be beaten by somebody who is more gifted in speech, that he doesn't have to worry about Clement being led astray. That Clement will recognize that it's the skill of the speaker, and not that the other person has truth and Kepha doesn't. So when he thus spoke, and I answered, now do I thank Elohim, for as I wish to be convinced, so he has vouchsafed to me. However, so far as concerns me, be you so far without anxiety that I shall never doubt, so much so that if you yourself should ever wish to remove me from the prophetic doctrine, you should not be able. So well do I know what I have received. And do not think that it is a great thing that I promise you that I shall never doubt, for neither I myself nor any man who has heard your discourse concerning the prophet can ever doubt of the true doctrine, having first heard and understood what is the truth of the prophetic announcement. Wherefore have confidence in the Elohim will, for every art of wickedness has been conquered. For against neither of discourses nor syllogisms nor any other contrivance can prevail anything. That is, if he who has heard the true prophet really is desirous of truth, and does not give heed aught else under pretext of truth, so that my Lord Peter Be not disconcerted, as though you had presented the greatest good to a senseless person, for you have presented it to one sensible of the favor, who cannot be seduced from the truth that has been committed to him. For I know that it is one of those things which one wishes to receive quickly and not attain slowly. Therefore, I know that I should not despise on account of the quickness um, with which I have got it, that has been committed to me, what is incomparable and what alone is safe. And he's just reinforcing or assuring Kifa that there's no way that anyone's going to lead him astray. That he's thoroughly convinced by this information that Kifa's given him that he definitely has the truth. When I had thus spoken, Kifa said, I give thanks to Elohim both for your salvation and for my satisfaction, for I am truly pleased to know that you apprehend what is the greatness of prophecy. Since then, as you say, if I myself should wish, which Elohim forbid, to transfer you to another doctrine, I shall not be able to persuade you. Uh, Begin from tomorrow to attend upon me in the discussions with the adversaries. And tomorrow I have one with Simon Magus. And having spoken thus, and he himself having partaken of food in private, he ordered me also to partake. And having blessed the food and having given thanks after being satisfied and having given me an account of this matter, he went on to say, May Elohim grant you in all things to be made like unto me, and having been baptized, to partake of the same table with me. And having thus spoken, he enjoined me to go to rest, for now indeed my bodily nature demanded sleep. And so, the discussion's over. It's the end of the day, and so they're going to sleep. So that was the end of the first homily. We will start with homily number 2 when we return. Thanks for listening. Shalom.